Welcome to Inquiry Theory. I'm Micah.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we're going to do kind of an interesting episode. We have a couple things we want to talk about. I figured it'd be kind of fun to talk about a couple things, bounce ideas off each other for street interview stuff. I think we're going to do, now that the weather's nice, sun's out, it's warm out, I think we're going to be hitting the street some more.
Yeah, we found some talking points that seem very interesting. We'd like to see what other people think about it. We're going to mull it over between ourselves before that.
Yeah. So these ones, I think they're little. I think it's relevant. I think it's a relevant topic without being something that is super controversial or divisive. That was kind of my goal.
Yeah, I think they all have a lot to do with like a lot of the narratives that are being pushed right now or talked about right now, at least in the way that society's going and times and things are changing and stuff for sure.
And it'll definitely give us an interesting perspective when we do street interviews with the people and talk to them about these topics to see kind of where they land on it. Because I am very curious. So, without
further ado,
more beating around the bush. So Ethan, is expertise dead in the internet age? And what I mean by that is, now that we have all this access to information, at our fingertips, and now especially with AI, because AI can actually sift through it now, does that kind of replace the authority? Do we really need to listen to people who are, quote, experts on things?
I wouldn't say necessarily that expertise is dead. I do think that we definitely don't have to rely on listening to the experts, quote unquote, as much as we used to, for sure. Mm-hmm. Just generally the more access you have to information, the smarter everybody's going to be. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you think about a child versus a parent, child needs a parent because they're dumb. They're a kid. They don't know anything. Parent teaches them, same kind of thing with this. If you think about it, like we have access to information. It's not just like in a textbook that you either have to buy online or like from a professor who studied it for 10 plus years, that they have, like we can easily find the knowledge that somebody would find by either going to college or, reading a book. Like you could have AI summarize a book in like a couple paragraphs, and while you might not be an expert on it, you would learn the same things that an expert who did read the book would tell you or teach you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I could see that. I think I definitely don't agree that expertise is kind of dead and gone. I think it's definitely, I think the authority aspect with the expertise should kind of go away. And what I mean by that is essentially this idea that if you're not credentialed, you can't talk on a subject. I think it's important to be able to still have those conversations and still talk about those things without being an expert, quote unquote expert. But I also don't think you should just throw out what an expert's saying because I've got ChatGPT over here that can give me something, or whatever your AI of choice is. That's an interesting thing to say, AI of choice. 3 years ago, I've been like, we're gonna have AI. But anyway,
no, for sure.
Yeah.
So, something that goes along with that is like there's a difference between like knowledge, education, and experience. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So one thing that I would say that I will see that a lot of the experts may have is a lot more experience with whatever the subject is. You know what I mean? Because obviously they spent time becoming an expert. Quotes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they'd have like a little bit better of a perspective, maybe to be able to give than an AI would. But
well, here's an interesting reframing: is like, did the access to information kind of remove the pedestal that we used to hold the experts on? So the experts, in my opinion, used to be very untouchable. Like, they're the expert. We can't question them. And now it feels as if with the way access to information is going, the default is to kind of question them in good faith. I do think there's a lot of people now who just kind of, you have PhD in your name, screw you, I'm not going to listen to anything you say, what do you know? And to be fair, because this, before it diverts too much to like the loss of trust in institutions, because I think we've talked about that in the past.
That's a little different.
It's a little different, but I feel like they're connected slightly.
Oh, for
I feel
sure.
like that the loss of trust in institutions has kind of poisoned the well of experts and expertise. Where now, when someone is talking to an expert, it's like, oh yeah, but like the institutions right now, like, don't get me wrong. There's a reason why people don't trust them as much. It's they've kind of lost that trust, but at the same time, it doesn't mean every single thing an expert's saying or someone associated with that institution is doing is automatically wrong. I do think it's good though to scrutinize what they say and kind of like run it back and like what's that one guy that was on Joe Rogan, Peter Hotep, I think, that one guest.
I think remind me of what did he do?
He basically, during COVID, he was talking about he very quickly changed stances on everything. He was very anti the vaccine to begin with, and then out of nowhere he just flips, and so it's just a little suspicious because it's like,
okay,
I don't think
was he on recently?
No. This
okay.
Years ago now, but
okay.
it was just interesting because it's like,
so before COVID he was against vaccines,
not necessarily against them, but he was skeptical. He was skeptical, and then it seemed like out of nowhere he just flipped and started being pro very quickly. And it's not to say it's not to say he didn't he didn't get new information and develop a new opinion, a new idea, a new thought of it. He could have. But it's one of those things where when you're talking about a topic that's got so many string pullers behind it and allegations of, I don't want to say malpractice, but the allegations of like payments for vaccinate, like all stuff like that. There's so much, and this isn't going to be a COVID topic, but just a lot of muddied water on that. It's a little suspicious for him to flip so quick. Oh,
100%.
So,
and that's why. Like COVID's a great example of again, this is kind of more of on the lines of like an institution versus the actual question we were asking in the beginning. But COVID is a perfect example of why, it is not necessarily the best idea to trust the experts all the time. You know what I mean? Because there has been concrete evidence that has come forth that shows that the vaccines either did not do what the experts are saying they did, or even caused harm that the experts didn't say that it could cause.
Yeah, the biggest one is definitely the transmission. It blocks transmission.
It blocks transmission. Right.
It never did, and they never even tested for that. That was released in that I think it was a House Senate hearing committee, something like that. They were up in front of someone, and they basically were testifying and said, "Yeah, no, we actually never tested for that." I believe it was. Pfizer, they were like, the rep was like, yeah, we actually never tested for transmission. It's like, well, then why were we saying it blocks transmission?
Right. Yeah.
And then on top of that, the whole ventilator issue with the ventilators and whether that was actually a good call or bad call on people's health. But anyway, we're getting down that rabbit hole, but that is a good example of why the institutions took that hit to trust and how that's translated into now people not really taking experts, quote unquote, as soundly in their opinions without fault as they used to.
Yeah, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I don't, like you said, it's probably not a good idea to just 100% dismiss anything an expert says. But COVID was just such a big, it was a worldwide event, so it was just such a big deal. And if there was that level of misinformation being spread by experts, it's not out of the realm of possibility that there's the same thing is going on in other institutions at levels that aren't quite as noticeable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like, my point is, it's good to be cautious, and challenge every line of thinking. Just because an expert says something doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Yeah. I will come to the defense, though, of experts where, well, not necessarily the defense, but where we were saying, it's replacing the authority, replacing them completely. I don't think they'll ever completely be gone because, as we were talking about earlier, it's not just their knowledge they have, but also the expertise they've picked up along the way, which does carry some weight. And everyone is corruptible, so it's not a get a jail free card from being criticized, because there are people who get bought out. There are people who are immoral and greedy, and there are all sorts of any issue with a person in society they can face too. They can have the same issue. So blind trust in it's not great. However, I will say it's the going to school and learning how to do the things. A big one for me is learning how to read research papers. That one was like, I will say this. I was in college. I got my bachelor's, and I read plenty of research papers, and they can be pretty darn hard to read. Like, when I sat there and I had to read through research papers, I'm like, great. like it's doable. But I definitely, the first time I started reading through them versus when I left college, world of difference. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on reading the research papers, but it's not as simple as just parsing through the information.
What's difficult about them to read? Is it like the grammar or the?
So it's a lot of the methodology, a lot of the explanation, the way they lay the stuff out that they do. It's the way it's written. It's definitely not an easy read per se. You got to kind of understand methodology, especially I'd say it's different between fields. I was in mostly sociology stuff, so I can read sociology papers decently well. There's still times where I have to reread it like 3 or 4 times to really grasp what I'm getting. But if I hadn't gone to college, I think that it would be a much more difficult thing, or in that field.
Okay.
And that doesn't necessarily make them correct. It's just, that's where I think the people, those quote authority, people who have the expertise to do these things, I'm not including myself in that at all. I think that's one thing that they can do and they should kind of use that skill. It's almost like a skill you learn to be able to disseminate that information and process it and change it into a more palatable thing for the average person.
Don't you think that's something that AI could do?
I think so. I think that is it could be where AI is, especially AI being widespread as it is now, plays a role in kind of filling that spot.
Yeah. So I mean, like, doesn't mean that expertise is dead, but sounds like there's a computer.
If you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh heck no, yeah, those people
absolutely not. But now it could for sure. You know what I mean?
I think so.
And then that would allow the reader to kind of, if they wanted to, they could spend time reading like an AI summary of, a research paper, going back, reading the research paper itself and kind of connecting the dots, and learning, how to read those better themselves.
And that's the thing too.
Instead of spending thousands of dollars on a class to do it. You know?
Well, that's the thing is like there was never one specific class, but it was throughout the course of the college career that I learned how to do it. But also, that's an important thing though, is being able to go into a research paper, because I have read research papers. Where I look at the conclusion, I get to the conclusion, I see their results, and I'm like, I go back to their methodology, and I'm like, yeah, no shit, you got those results. Like, look at the subset of people you talk to. I'm like, look at because it's mostly sociology, so it dealt all really with groups and people and stuff like that, and so it's a bit more fallible than other things, I'd say, because you are dealing with people, and you have to assume that everyone you're talking to is telling the truth, doing the things, whatever. But I have had those papers where I read it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not shocked that you got this conclusion because the way you asked these questions and did the things. Like, I'm just shocked that it's been peer reviewed and they've accepted it. Like, I would have questioned it immediately if that was, but I'm not a peer, so I guess that's why. But I think it's that one is an interesting one. Another kind of offshoot of that, and I see you're writing something down, so I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. But the other thing too is playing into this, being the ability to find this information on the internet and do the things and have AI help. Do you think it kind of breeds this unearned confidence? And I wouldn't say unearned, but do you think it breeds confidence? Do you think people are more like set in their research they've done now?
I mean, probably. Is that a bad thing?
Well, okay, because the reason I'm thinking about it is like, are people actually getting more informed through doing this, or because I mean I don't know if what you've experienced because you use Perplexity. I use ChatGPT. I see it with ChatGPT, and maybe I need to stop using it and use something else. But that's the one I've used all my stuff at, so it's nice because it's kind of learned my speech patterns and the way I talk and think, and it's kind of gotten better. But early on, I noticed I wouldn't say ChatGPT was giving me wrong answers, but it definitely had a bias towards certain things.
Well, for sure.
And the way it would talk and share. So that's one that hits me is like, is it actually informing me more? Or am I just getting more confident because I'm like, oh, chat AI helps me out
AI
there.
told me so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the expert told you so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, I agree with that for sure. Like the whole reason that I was kind of hesitant towards using AI right from the beginning was when that whole thing about like Google Gemini coming out with the black Nazis and, like a picture of black, like it's just historically incorrect, right? So if they're doing stuff like that, what else is compromised within the AI? You know what I mean? So like what information is it giving me that's, false or, misleading or, not correct history? It's important to be historically accurate, obviously. You don't want to, mince history. That's right. Like that's just a big red flag for me. And ChatGPT, I think there was something to do with
black Nazis, so they showed a picture of Kanye or
I don't know. I didn't look at that. I was like, I didn't look at that. I just heard about that. And then there was something with ChatGPT. I don't think it was like an image, but but something that I heard that was definitely made it seem biased, like you said. So anyways, I never really used either of them. And then the only reason I use Perplexity is because it's Rogan's sponsor, and I, trust his judgment more than a lot of other people's, just based on, how I've heard him talk and like his values and stuff. So that's why I use Perplexity. And it also has, like I said, or didn't say on this, but I was telling you that it shows you its sources too. So you can go back and look at exactly like where it summarized all its, info from, which is cool. Yeah. And then going back to what we were talking about, like the expertise being dead and stuff, and the potentially less need to listen to experts, I came up with a question that's like, does that kind of threaten, the further discovery, and further evolution of humankind? You know what I mean? If like we don't need experts, is what's motivating experts to become experts? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so
that's if college is no longer needed as much as it was, are they going to get the funding they need to keep furthering research and all that stuff?
So that I can give you a short, brief answer that is a cop-out that I don't like, but the first thing that popped into my head, AI. That's the solution. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a cop-out. I think it's important for us to develop and continue a society as if AI isn't going to be around. I think it's important for us to not lose the skills and the abilities. I think it's I think AI needs to, and I'm sure a lot of people do this, but I have seen people use it as just the end-all be-all. Like, oh, I'll just have AI do it. I'm like, okay. Why don't you look at how AI can make your process of doing it smoother? Instead of relying completely on AI to do everything, it's like, craft a better prompt or have it, instead of, give it a string of numbers to crunch and give you the answer, rather than just telling it, hey, solve this problem for me. It's like, okay, I got these numbers. Can you add them together and do that? Instead of solving the whole equation or issue for you. Have it do steps of the problem solving, not try and solve the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
To give you an actual answer to that, I think that is a concern we need to be careful, because if we do start just throwing out all experts and getting rid of expertise and see, because now I'm kind of thinking of what it was like, and I wasn't alive in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but I feel like college was pretty elite back then, and I feel like now it's gotten cheapened, and it's to the point where, or maybe even pre-50s. I don't even know. I wasn't alive then. Tough to say, but it feels like college originally and university was much more esteemed and. I don't know. It's been cheapened.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I would say that people go to college now for, just to make more money. later down the line. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe back in the day, like going to college was because you wanted to pursue, a higher level of thinking and learning. And, you know what I mean? I think now it's just like, oh, what kind of job can I get with a degree versus what kind of job can I get without a degree? You know what I mean? I think that's a lot of why people go to college nowadays. I mean, like, what's the most popular degree to get in college? Like business management, you know what I mean? Some like degree, marketing, business management, easiest degrees to get, you know what I mean? And like, what is that really doing to contribute to the bettering of, human society? You know what I mean?
That's all things you could pick up in the workplace.
Exactly. It's all things you could learn from experience.
College has been inflated.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree with that. So I guess maybe that kind of answers the question. But then you were talking about AI being used as a tool rather than just like a tool
the solution, yeah.
Rather than the solution. Yeah, I have a little bit of real life experience with that actually. I was talking to my coworker. There's this guy at work. So I work in a restaurant. He's this guy. He comes in pretty regularly, and he's writing books. And what he's doing is he's using AI from what I know, he's using AI as kind of like his editor. Like he'll write out like a chapter or something, then he'll put it into AI. He'll be like, make this better, like grammar wise, and like all that kind of stuff. And there was a comment from one of my coworkers who said like, "Oh, this is just AI slop." Like, "Oh, it's just." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, is it, or is it him just cutting out the editor? You know what I mean? Like, is him just being smart and not paying an editor to do something that AI could do? You know what I mean?"
Yeah. That is exactly what's happening right now. Is we are seeing a lot of those jobs kind of be taken over by AI. Mm-hmm. It's that interesting one where it's like, can AI actually generate the thoughts and the creative writing itself, or is it working within the framework you give it? Like, where does it shine more? And I think it shines more doing what he's saying, and hey, is this like logic? Like, does this make sense? Is this, I left out an apostrophe there, or that's a run-on sentence, or I don't know, another grammar issue, like, or is he actually over here like, hey,
write me a paragraph about this?
Yeah, how do I do that? Because those are two very different things.
Sure.
And the former is fine. The latter, that's where it's like, will AI ever actually be able to do that? I don't know, maybe, but right now it's probably best not to rely on it, and that's where the AI slop comes in.
Sure,
dude, I can't tell you how fast.
Yeah, and I need to talk to him more because I don't know what he actually does, like how much of it is actually his writing, and what he's actually pulling from. Fine.
It's a good example.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, anyways.
I click off AI voiced videos so fast.
Oh, for sure.
I don't even care. I don't even care what it, like, if it piques my interest enough to click on it, and it starts off with the same like 4 different AI voice, one of those. Gone, done. I'm like, I'm not watching this. I'm not watching this garbage.
Yep.
Because it's just infested social media.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But So back to the point of, is this the tools now we have? Do you think it's like breeding overconfidence, like confidence where it shouldn't exist, or are we actually being more informed, or is it something in the middle?
So is the access to information breeding confidence?
Yeah.
That should not exist.
Not necessarily not shouldn't exist, but just is it breeding this level of confidence that might undermine actual like discussion and conversation and stuff like that? Like
I think that's just human nature, though. I don't think that necessarily has to come with the access to information. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's confident about something, confident that they're right, I don't.
Let me rephrase it.
I mean, yeah, but that's just natural. It doesn't have anything to do with.
Let me rephrase the question a bit, because I think you're correct. I think what you're saying is right. I like the question. I don't really like what we're questioning. So we're questioning information, right? Access to information. I will never say access to information is a bad thing.
Right.
But how about echo chambers? With the way the current news and social media set up is, we have access to information, but hang on. We have information, but are these algorithms locking us into these echo chambers where we won't find the information?
I mean, yes, they definitely are.
And is that breeding overconfidence?
Now, it probably could. Because
Because if you're stuck in if your interaction on online are only with people you agree with, and then you see someone you don't, and you're like, look at this idiot over here who's, like, oh, all these people are all saying the same thing over and over. It's that like echo chamber effect where it's just you're gassing yourself up. You're getting gassed up because I agree with everything. Oh, we must be right and correct. And then you're never challenged, or you don't see it. And then are you just overconfident and then you're not actually informed?
Well, I would say you're informed. I don't know if you have all the information. You know what I mean? Which is a bad thing. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's a groundbreaking thing. You know what I mean? I think that's that's why there's been like wars throughout human history. You know what I mean? It's just a disconnect that people have. You know what I mean? Based on the connectivity of the world. You know what I mean? And what I think is happening, like hopefully, in the long term, is stuff like this will get realized, because this isn't really a new phenomenon that we're talking about, like the echo chambers and stuff, and the way that people just like the algorithm stuff. Like this isn't something new, right? So I'm hopeful in the fact that people will realize that and start trying to have discourse with people that think oppositely of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the world and society will move in that direction versus just echo chamber to echo chamber.
I agree and disagree with that. I think where I disagree is I think we are facing a unique circumstance here where in the past, I think there were echo chambers due to lack of information, not overabundance of information. And what I mean by that is back in the day, I don't know, 1700s, 16, whatever it is, where there were barely newspapers. Like, let's say before the printing press. I mean, you only got information that was relevant to where you were about what was going on with people around you. And so that's the only information you ever had. And so you were in an echo chamber because maybe not necessarily opinions, because people can interpret everything and have different opinions on that stuff. But the information you were receiving was only the same. Like, everyone had the same information. You didn't know what was going on states over or continents. Like, you didn't know all this stuff. And I think now we are in these echo chambers, but it's because there's so much information and we have developed algorithms to feed people. It's mostly because of consumerism, to kind of feed people to what they want. But now it's created this like bubble to where there is an echo chamber, and it exists because there is too much information. And for example, if I love cat videos, I only ever want to see cat videos. If the algorithm knows that and only feeds me cat videos, I'll never, it just solidifies my opinion on cat videos and cats, and cats are better than dogs because look at all the things these cats do, and I never see what the dogs are doing because I don't get those in my algorithm. And so before, I would say it's an echo chamber due to lack of information, and now I think it's an echo chamber because of algorithms that have to exist in a field of overabundance of information. If any of that makes any sense.
No, I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure. I mean, I definitely think like social media and all these, platforms that people now have to, voice their awesome opinions. Mm-hmm. I definitely think that it is detrimental to society in the fact that, it's tailored to the individual. You know what I mean? It's a marketing thing. Like you said, it's about, making money. It's about people staying on the apps and swiping, doom scrolling, as they say, mm-hmm. Which is dangerous because it kind of inhibits the ability for people to, think openly and think freely. So, yeah.
Yeah,
so I think there are a lot of more responsibility should be put on the people that either own the companies or run the algorithms or whatever, to like it's kind of a question of how much responsibility should they have to make sure that people aren't getting stuck in this situation. You know what I mean? It's like it's a new thing. It's kind of weird. It's there's no precedent.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's one of the dangers of it. There's no precedent, and so we as a society don't know how to handle.
We don't know where it's going. Humans don't like to think ahead. What I mean? We just like to go forward. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which isn't a bad thing. Like, it's led to a lot of a lot of good things, but could lead to bad things too. I don't know.
So do you think this overconfidence then is? Do you think that's more on the fault of the individual or the companies with the algorithms and stuff like that?
I feel like it's more on the companies with the algorithms because they obviously know that it's effective because they use them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Dangers with them.
Yep. And maybe the onus shouldn't be put on the companies. People just need to be educated more. You know what I mean? So they can realize that, because I think, I hope that anybody, would want to have, open discourse and, challenge their ideals. Doesn't really seem that way, but is that just a facade? You know what I mean? Because like all the influencers and stuff, they're trying to make money too. They're trying to get likes and stuff. So they're feeding into the algorithm. Is it really what they think? Like if you sat down and talked to a lot of these people face to face, would they say the same things that they're saying?
Bunch of grifters.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Would they say the same thing that they're saying on their platforms?
Yeah. And that's the thing is I think with humanity's flaws and our issues I think we are going to run into a lot of grifting. A lot of people who aren't going to, who want the algorithm. They want that bubble. They want to be right, quote unquote right. They don't want to hear any sort of dissenting opinion. I think the interesting point on all that though is I struggle with this because in my head, I can't imagine not wanting to hear what opposition wants to say. Like I can't imagine like having my bubble, knowing I'm in the bubble and wishing that was everything. Like I can't imagine that.
Yep.
Doesn't mean I don't fall victim to that from time to time. I do. I get stuck in, rabbit holes that are very much echo chambers and I have to kind of sit back and go, oh crap. Okay. That's not necessarily like, yeah, this all sounds great, but that's because no opposition has been given in this. I have not seen any opposition given to this because I'm stuck in that algorithm. The algorithm has fed me only stuff that agrees with me. I couldn't imagine, though, not realizing that at some point. But I guess there is a large swath of people who fall into that and that they don't care. I don't have any information to say definitively, but I imagine that's what it is because look at how divisive online culture is now. It's all about the division and the us and them and this mentality. It's like it could be any sort of in-group or out-group, and it's
when we're talking about the political online culture.
Yeah,
it's very divisive. For
yes,
sure.
Yes, political online, and honestly, even. But that's the thing, though, is it's permeated so many different things because it's like gaming culture's that divisive now too.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like video games now, politics has wormed its way into it. And now it's super divisive. And I don't necessarily disagree with the people that have problems with some of that stuff. But, okay, so for example, like a big one is a lot of political... Okay, let me rephrase. Politics has wormed its way into the gaming culture. So you have something that happened this past year... and I won't go too far down the rabbit hole because it doesn't interest a lot of people. Interests me a little bit, but I'm still not one of those people who's like, I don't care what games are being made. I don't care who makes them. I don't care what studio, what they want to do. It's purely a market-driven economy. If there's demand for what you make, it will succeed. If there's no demand, it's not going to succeed. However, something interesting has happened in the last 5 years and really the last couple of years. It's happened a little before that, but the last 5 years has really shifted a lot, which is crazy to think and say. It's like, which COVID was 7 years ago. Started 7 years. Well, 6, 7. Anyway. But my point being...
6, 7.
No. So my point being, so like there was a lot of like DEI and representation in video games. And an interesting thing you see... Okay, so I've played the same games since...
I have something to say about DEI, whatever.
Okay.
After.
Sure.
Continue.
I've played the same video games since 2006, 2007. The same main two. They've not changed. Now, I play old versions of them. The new versions are very different. But a lot of new games that come out now, at least in the last couple of years, there was a big DEI initiative where a lot of characters were, they've made them minority characters. They've made them part LGBT. They've made them whatever. They've added the social, I don't want to say issues. It's not an issue, but like the social things going on relevant. And they've been met with a lot of pushback. And it's so interesting to me because you've got one side that's mad. Let's say, for example, they've got mad that they put a minority person in the game. And I'm like, dude, you're mad that they put a minority person in the game. Like, come on, just don't play the game then. But then on the flip side of that is like, these people are mad at them for being mad at that. I'm like, if they don't want to play the game, if they don't think the game's good, then they don't have to play the game. Like, why are you mad at them for being mad about the game? Like, it's the whole thing is a joke. It's nonsense. I don't think it makes any sense to be mad at and upset about this content. But what the market is showing that people do not want that in games. We've had several big AAA budget games that have flopped tremendously in the last couple of years. Like, I'm talking hundreds of millions in development, and then they're dead now. They've already been shut down and canceled, and it's not even been a year. Like, Concord was a big one. Marathon is one that's and you could argue that's just because the games suck too. It doesn't mean it's because it's the DEI stuff. But I think it's just interesting because to tie this in is like with the algorithm and the consumerism stuff is like what sells works. What sells is what is in the market. And so what I wanted to point out was, are these bubbles people are in, are these echo chambers people are in, are they what people actually want? Because if the algorithm is showing it and people are clicking on it and it's working, it's making people money. If that's what people want, I mean, now I think it's interesting what you said earlier where they should be educated and more aware of that, because I think a lot of it is probably people are unaware. They don't understand, and so they fall into it. But also on the flip side of it is like, if that's what they really want, I mean, hey, what's, if you want an echo chamber.
Yeah, that's where it becomes dangerous though.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If people are unknowingly, subjecting themselves to, an echo chamber, I think that's definitely harmful. Like it's all about people realizing that, there is an algorithm and they are only getting fed what, they like. Like literally is what happens. I think that is important for people to know. And I think a lot, probably the younger people know that's happening. I feel like a lot of the older people who are just jumping on these apps, and they're like, oh, this is cool. Like, look at all this, interesting stuff for me to watch and listen to. They probably don't know, And there's like I said, I work in the public sphere a lot. And so I hear a lot of people talking about random stuff. And I'm like, I know exactly where you're pulling that opinion and information from. Like, I know, and it like, I hear a lot of like one-sided opinions either way, if we're going to go like, talk about political and stuff, politics and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. DEI is crazy, man. Like my biggest beef with DEI is like, it's just, in order for, it's all about, diversity, equity, and inclusion, less racism and stuff. In my mind, in order to have less racism, you want to talk about race less. You know what I mean? DEI, you
don't want to accentuate it.
Exactly. DEI is accentuating it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just bringing it to the forefront. Well, It's making it about race.
I think we had a very good stint in the 90s.
That's what I was just going to say. Great. Yeah, so I was just going to say, like, nobody really talked about it. I didn't really, see, kids of color my age as kids of color. I didn't really even think about it, because people didn't talk about it. You know what I mean? Now it's like, now people are thinking about it because they're talking about it again, and... Yeah, like, and as far as like DEI in games and stuff, like, it's to me about being accurate, like in what you're portraying. Like, what game is it? What is the game about? Like, go back to the Gemini with black Nazis. If I were to play Call of Duty and I was killing a bunch of black Nazis, I'd be like, come on, man. Like that's ridiculous.
They did have they did a couple about in 2017. I think Battlefield 1. They had some more, and in Battlefield 5 they had a lot of unhistoric things happen. That it existed in World War II, or World War I and II. Like, yeah, there were some women fighting. Yeah, it was, but like,
that's
realistically, but it's like,
there weren't. Yeah, which is if. That I feel like you're forcing that would kind of rub me the wrong way. Whether it's like you said, it's stupid. It's not really a big deal. If you don't want to play it, don't play it. You know what I mean? But like, as far as having DEI in that sense.
So
I feel like that's kind of stupid. That's my opinion though.
And in the video game world, it's interesting too because it's not just the characters, but it's also the story and message they put. Because there have been a lot of quote like woke developers recently, and
they went to college.
Yeah, and their studios flop so hard so fast. Once they start actually trying to publish games, and it's unfortunate. It's funny because so
college itself is an echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
You come out of college, you're taught all these things for the last 4 to 8 years. You know what I mean? And then you come out of the echo chamber, join the real world, and you're like, oh, this isn't college anymore. You know what I mean?
So what's interesting is there's actually there's 2 separate rabbit holes.
You know, I'm mixed with people who either didn't go to college. I'm mixed with people who went to college 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm mixed with a bunch of people who haven't been saying the same thing that I've been saying or listening to the same thing I've been listening to for the past 4 years. You know what I mean? And that's where echo chambers are again dangerous or not dangerous, but maybe counterproductive because they don't really.
I would argue a disservice. They're a disservice to
there you go.
Good faith conversation. I don't think they're inherently bad.
Good word.
I don't think they're not good. They're definitely not good. They're not inherently good because
a disservice is the perfect word.
Yeah,
it does a disservice to the consumer.
It just
for sure.
Yeah,
or
just
of information or content or whatever
to the well-roundedness of the person that's stuck in it. So
exactly,
it's important for people to be able to. So and the reason I used the cat videos earlier is because it's like if you're in an echo chamber where the only content you consume is cat videos, what harm is that? It's just cat videos.
No, it's not harmful, but you also don't get to see the beauty of dogs or any other animal.
But that's the thing, though, is if that's what they want, sure, fine. But that's why I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's a disservice because you should want to expose yourself to those things. If you don't, that's fine. I'm just saying if you want to be someone who is more well-rounded, who has more views and opinions on things and or perspectives, not opinions, more perspectives on things. It's better to be out of the echo chamber no matter what it is. Echo chambers definitely do have an aspect of them that can be dangerous. Just look at radicalization. I mean, that exists within echo chambers. It can be dangerous, but there's also echo chambers that I think are probably beneficial to some people. People who have genuine real mental health concerns and issues. I don't know too much about schizophrenia or bipolar, but I'm assuming there's probably triggers to some of that thing, some manic episodes. They can probably a trigger or something for any sort of mental illness. I only said those 2 because those 2 are at the top of my head, but I'm sure there's mental illnesses that have triggers, and so avoiding those triggers is probably beneficial. And so if you're in a quote echo chamber online and you're not able to see those things that'll trigger those issues, I use this to ignore that I use schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. I don't know enough about them to actually say that that's them, but I'm sure there exists mental health issues where I don't know, depression. If you got someone who's depressed and possibly suicidal, they really probably shouldn't. You probably want them to be in an echo chamber of cat videos, cute cat videos, something that can boost their.
What if they're in an echo chamber that's making them depressed?
That's what I'm saying. It's could be good and bad. It's neither inherently good or inherently bad, but it all depends on a lot of factors.
I mean, it's not even like echo chambers are a new thing. You know what I mean? Even the mainstream media, it's been exposed that they're super biased, so they're like an echo chamber themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just, I think we're just more aware of it now just because of social media. It's been become a little bit more obvious.
Same thing.
There's more access to information.
Yeah, same thing. Just new skin on it. It's just it's the same issue.
Just a new platform.
Yeah. So
echo chambers, I don't like them. You know what I mean? I wish. And is that just what's the word I'm looking for? Is that just a symptom of market capitalism? It's just about making money. Is that how that works?
I think it's
not really, because if you think of a dictatorship or communism, that's just one giant echo chamber.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think it's something that exists with anywhere, with everything. It's just since we live in an open market economy, and That's the form it takes.
And and I think that's why, to bring it back, that's why I think it's very important to, question and challenge the experts. You know what I mean? Because it leads to free thinking. It leads to an escape from the echo chambers. You know what I mean? Not trusting in the experts.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that they shouldn't be trusted, but not wholeheartedly. You know what I mean?
They should be
their expertise and their opinions and everything should be taken into account greatly when considering anything. That has to do with their expertise, obviously. You know what I mean? But if there's like a challenge to anything, it shouldn't be shut down by the experts.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair.
I mean, that's just science. Or that's what science is supposed to be. Propose a hypothesis and,
well, the thing is,
work
you
through
propose
it,
a
experiment.
hypothesis and you try desperately to disprove it.
Right.
You don't necessarily try to prove it. You try to disprove it because the disproving it you face a greater bias when you try to prove a hypothesis than you do disproving it.
Okay, I like that.
So because if you create this hypothesis, you now you at least to some level are biased towards that hypothesis.
Yeah.
Hypothesis.
The big reason I don't trust experts and trust institutions was who's the guy that said that challenged that the Earth was the center of the galaxy or center of the universe? Is it Galileo or?
I think so.
Wasn't he like burned at the stake?
I don't know.
Pretty sure he was. Put that into our sponsor, Perplexity.
Not non-sponsor.
Yeah, who was the philosopher or the physicist that said that the Earth is not the center of the galaxy? Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'm doing it the old-fashioned way.
Googling it?
Yeah.
I don't trust Google. There were no black Nazis. I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Gemini. That's an interesting one because it's like
what I mean though.
Yeah, that's an interesting issue that they
much exactly, and how much of that same kind of stuff is happening nowadays. How many people are being suppressed? Who might have groundbreaking theories or discoveries just within reach if people were to just like listen or take into account their hypothesis. You know what I mean? Like, dude was literally burned at the stake for being right just because he was so far ahead of his time. You know what I mean? So that, like, I just think back to that all the time whenever I hear, of, some theories and everybody's just calling it crazy. Oh, like you're either just you're not an expert or you're just a conspiracy theorist or something. I'm like, really? Like, y'all know everything to be able to say that with certainty? You know what I mean? Just think about back to the dude who got burned because he said the Earth wasn't the center of the galaxy. Because that's a fact. I'm pretty sure. I just forget who it is.
Nicolaus Copernicus.
Copernicus, that's right.
But that was just the sun is the center of the universe. So he was still incorrect. But I mean, it's
not
closer.
The point.
It's closer.
That's not the point. He was still he was questioning that it wasn't Earth.
Yes.
So anyways, that's one of the main reasons why I'm always skeptical of anybody who just shuts down somebody because it's not a known fact. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because that was the known fact that the Earth was the center, of the galaxy at the time. You know what I mean? That was a fact. That's what they thought was a fact. You know what I mean? No, facts are facts. I'm like, are they all the time? Really?
Yeah.
You sure? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's my soapbox.
Yes. Good soapbox. No, I definitely agree. I think it's where I struggle with that is the fine line between not necessarily defending.
Sun's the center of the solar system, so he was onto something anyway.
He was, yeah. Heliocentric model is what he was looking at. But my issue is not so much. It's really the same position as yours, but like flipped. Is I don't think we should, like, not we, but like just because an expert states a fact, what we know, what we believe to be a fact, because they're an expert, it be, like we said earlier, it just be thrown out. Like, it's so much distrust has been brooding with institutions that we just immediately throw anything they say out. Like, it's the flip side. You're saying not to immediately trust everything they're saying because it's a fact, but facts change and information changes. I agree. I think it's also important, though, to not just completely disregard anything they do say. The onus needs to be on the person presenting the information and be able to articulate the fact. Like, they need to explain why the fact is. Like,
absolutely.
Like, why is like he probably did a good job. Copernicus probably did a better job explaining, like, hey guys, you say the Earth is the center of the solar system, universe, but whatever, solar system. But actually, it's the sun, and this is why. I think it's a completely valid way to go about it, but not if he just went to them and going, I don't trust you guys. You guys have a bad track record of burning people at the stake. Screw you. The sun is the center.
I don't think that's what he did.
No, I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm saying
okay.
like that's the difference. Is like he's like, hey, I don't agree with you guys. Here's why. Here's the information why. Not just
Sure.
I don't like you guys. Screw you. This is not true. Like he.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's to me it's a fine line between the two.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It really depends on being able to articulate the what's the word I'm looking for? Not opposition, but the counterpoint to
or
articulate
just the point in general.
Yeah, it's good to articulate the information and why you disagree and what makes you disagree and how and all that. So I don't know. That's kind of, and that's what. Well, I don't know. Let's take it back.
So I have a kind of like another like more personal experience with something that's relevant to this. So my boss, I've heard him say multiple times, like whenever I'm talking to him about, something to do with, the business that, either I disagree with or I want to try something new or something that he doesn't necessarily disagree or he doesn't necessarily agree with. He likes to say that, oh, I know this business. I know this company, and that to me just sounds like you're shutting down, an opposing opinion, rather than just considering it, just because like, it's kind of like trust me, I'm the expert,
Yeah.
I've been here for so long. I know this business, I'm like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that there can't be new ways of doing things or, alternate perspectives or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
So like my point with saying that is like, I feel like it's kind of human nature to want to be right. And want to,
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like, you also have to take that into account when you're listening to experts, you know what I mean? Like, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, in a perfect world, everyone would just be able to, an expert who's telling you something and be like, look, I actually don't believe this and I'm being paid money to say this.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't live in a perfect world and
Right.
they won't do that. So you do have to be critical of what they say.
But, one of the narratives you do see in this being pushed a lot is to trust the experts. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm so skeptical all the time because like if that narrative's being pushed and what you just said, like you would love for the experts to, just have 100% morality and, but that's not true. That's very rarely the case. You know what I mean? There's, like not always, but more often than not, I feel like there's, either, they're doing it for personal gain or they're doing it to, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. No, I
left that a little open-ended, but
no, I get that. I agree under the circumstances. I just am wary of the taking it too far. That's all. I'm just
for sure.
I'm just
Yeah.
wary of that because it's I don't, especially immediately after COVID. Like holy crap! And I admit I probably fell into that a little bit. Was just that it's an institution. Screw them. Blah. I'm not going to listen. Like or you're an expert. Blah. I'm not really going to listen. Like I kind of fell into that a little bit. For a while, that was like I had that because that was a lied to moment where you're like, well, screw you, like screw you, and so I get it. I also just like I don't know. I also took that with a grain of salt too. Where after I calmed down and I kind of like was like, okay, yeah, it's maybe not great to throw every single 100% of experts out the window.
Oh God, no,
like
no,
yeah. I was like, we still need them. They still have their place. But also, don't... But I will say that... what did they say? When Fauci's like, I am the science, or whatever. Like,
oh, yeah. See, trust the science, trust the experts.
I'm like...
Trust the science, yeah.
I am the science.
Yeah. Exactly. See, it's like stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's why I hate... That's why I hate all the politicians and, because they're always just, trust us, Like we're doing it for you. We're doing it for the American people. Every single that, and that's a narrative that that like Trump ran on a lot. Was like, I'm running for you guys. And I've noticed like just watching the news and stuff that's something that the Democratic Party's picked up on.
Oh, they're trying.
Yeah, they're like, we're here for the American people.
They're trying to take over populism. I think that's populism. Yeah, that's populism.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's probably used that definition incorrectly.
I don't know what it is, but either way, I don't trust any of them when they say that.
I'm gonna fact check myself there.
It was the Luna. She's a congresswoman. She was on Rogan, and she straight up said like politicians will purposefully not fix issues just so they can run on them, like in their campaigns.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's a type of populism.
What say like we're doing it for the American people?
Yeah. It's good and bad kind of.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's like nationalist versus globalist is what's really going on in American politics right now. But anyways, but the Luna thing, the Congresswoman Luna, I don't know what her first name is, but yeah, she straight up said that politicians won't fix issues that they run on because so they can run on them again.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with we rag on California's homelessness, but like it's like the people getting paid to fix homelessness. Why would you fix homelessness?
If you're
getting paid
right, exactly, yeah,
hundreds of thousands of dollars, why would you fix it? Like you're going to be out of a job.
Yeah, I've probably said this on here before, but that's why there should be term limits for senators and congressmen, just like presidency. Like maybe not quite 4 years, maybe not that short, but definitely not. You shouldn't be a lifelong senator. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Especially
you should have to be
because
out
like
with the real
I don't
people
know, like
once in a while.
Think about it. How much has changed, really? In America, all these things that they say that they're going to do. How much has really changed, except for we're getting taxed more?
True. Well, that's one thing I do love. I do love about these old senators.
And prices of things are going up. What's changed?
Very true. Very valid. One thing I love about the old senators, and like you said, like they've been in there so long, it's like they aren't out in the real world. I love it because you can see all these old people who did not grow up with like internet or anything. Like they all the time, like they forget the internet exists. Like they'll say something from like 20 years ago and they say something now and people are like, that's not what you said 20 years ago.
I love that.
Because they don't think they'll get caught. And then they get caught. They get pulled on it every single time.
I love seeing videos like that. Like
doesn't matter who it is. I love it. It's like
there's like one about the immigration thing. There's all these videos about, Hillary and like Obama running on like no immigration, like shutting down the borders and stuff. I don't know. It's funny.
To be fair, I'm not saying you can't change your opinion on something.
Not at all.
But think about the context of what's going on. You were, if what you said 20 years ago is now seen as controversial now, and you've changed to saying what's correct now,
you're just going with you're not actually standing for anything.
Like and also because when you watch them do it, they never go back and say, I used to think this, but now because of XYZ, I now think this. Not a single one of them does that, which would solve their problem. Like, okay, if you are a politician out there listening to us now, first off, fantastic. Doubt it, but fantastic. Second off, hire me for your PR team. I can get this resolved immediately. Like, it's the simplest layup. It's the simplest thing. It just go like if I had been on Hillary Clinton's campaign and instead of having her go out there and go, nobody's illegal and blah 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 like that, and go, hey everybody, yes, I said this, and post the clip from 20, 30 years ago, whenever it was. Now, a lot has changed in that time, and actually because of all these things, I now think that is a outdated perspective to have on it. Things have changed, new information's presented itself, and I now think this. Like, I don't agree with her or what she's thinking now, but like, my God, that is infinitely better than just saying it now and pretending like you didn't support strict immigration decades ago. Like, oh my God, I could solve all your problems. Trust me. Like,
they're not problems. They know what they're doing.
I know. It's just so frustrating because it's it's the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing. Just be like, I've grown as a person.
And that's where I feel like the access to information is a good thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like we can, like you said, we can see it now. So,
but I think it's a decent spot to leave it there. Access information.
Good. Oh, one thing I just want to talk about. I said I want to talk about with the DEI thing is we are just went around the moon for, I'm sure everybody who's listening already knows that. Was splashed down in an hour, splashed down outside of San Diego. And I've been following it a lot actually. And one of the cool things is they're interviewing the astronauts while they're on the the spacecraft, which is super cool. But anyway, two questions have been asked to the astronauts in regards to DEI. So there's two white guys, one of them from Canada. There's also a white girl, and then there's a black guy. 4 astronauts. And before they took off, they asked the black astronaut like what he thought about, DEI practices and stuff. To which his response was that he loves the fact that, a young, quote, like verbatim, a young brown boy or like a young girl could look at either of them and see themselves in them. He thinks that's a great thing, but he also hopes that society is moving away from that and people just see each other as individuals, which I think is super cool. And then they also asked the girl astronaut on the way back a similar question, and she didn't even really touch on it. She just said that she wants people to be known for their like individual achievements and stuff. And I just
Meritocracy.
Which I just think like asking, 2 astronauts that is kind of like, it's a little bit insulting. It's kind of like an insulting question to ask, in my opinion, because like you're like, are you assuming that they're there because of DEI and not because they earned a spot there to be there? You know what I mean? And that, like, I wouldn't like to be asked that question. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. I'm not either a girl nor am I black, but I just like, I don't know. I wouldn't like that question. You know what I mean? I'd kind of be insulted by it.
Yeah. That's something that I think the right has been correct on for a while now is meritocracy over DEI.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because whenever I see someone, I'll say this last thing and then we'll end it because it's getting long and this is a whole nother topic.
Yep.
But my issue is when I see people discussing DEI, it always seems as though the sides are talking about what the other person thinks, but not with them and like on the same level. Like I can understand the left's perspective of we need DEI because these people are not going to have the same opportunity chances. I get that. I can wrap my head around that conversation. I don't necessarily agree with them, but I can understand why they support that and how it sounds. I get it.
The idea is admirable.
Yes. On the flip side, on the right, meritocracy is just baseline. Like the best person for the job. That's how it should be. Now, the right often, not always, often overlooks opportunity. If people have not had the same opportunity, then obviously it's going to be a different, I get that. I'm not agreeing necessarily that, basically break it down as equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. The left is very much talking about equality of outcome, and the right is talking about equality of opportunity. And so they both have admirable aspects, and they both are refusing to kind of see what the other person is talking about. The left says equality of outcome because they don't believe the opportunity is equal. And they don't think that people have had the same opportunity. They don't think it's fair, yada, yada, yada. So they won't talk about equal opportunity because they don't see that as ever happening, and they just go equal outcome. The right is over here going, okay, equal outcome is not fair. Why are you hindering those who can perform well at the cost, or why are you pushing people forward at the cost of people above them? Like why are you knocking people down? And so they believe more in equal opportunity, where try to give everyone at least the best opportunity you can and let them make of it what they will. And so it's interesting because I don't think either is completely wrong or completely right.
Yeah, it's weird because it's a problem that I feel like it should be solved from the bottom up rather than the top down. You know what I mean? A lot of problems like economically and stuff, you kind of like start from the top. You know what I mean? But like you said, you'd want like the effort to be the opportunity, right? The like what education are the young people getting, not what jobs are they getting after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you said, once they've gone through the process and they're, up for, hire as a pilot or, astronaut or, engineer or whatever, you do want the best person for the job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it goes down to, what kind of opportunity are they, or like, they getting that other people aren't, what I mean, or vice versa.
I can acknowledge that if you are just going by meritocracy, there are going to be people left out because they didn't have the same opportunity. I can acknowledge that, but I also think that promotes a better system than the inverse. I don't think it's a.
I don't think that's really debatable.
No, but they somehow do.
Well, they try.
They try.
That's why the movement didn't really last, though. No. It didn't stick.
Yeah, it's fading fast.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, that's the good thing about America, though. We try new things. You know?
Yep.
See if it works. If it doesn't, we move on. Try something else.
Yep. So I don't know. Maybe we'll try no echo chambers here. We'll see. But I think that's a good point. I think some of those topics I think might come up in some future episodes, some future street interviews. So keep an eye out for those. Sun is out. It's going to be great time now. I'm so excited. I feel we haven't done the street interviews because I was of the opinion of it is cold. I don't want to be out here. Why would anyone else want to stop and talk to us?
Right. Logical.
Yes. So I did not want to push anyone in those positions. So now that's nice out. You should see more of those. But thank you for tuning in and listening to Two Idiots Ramble. Hopefully there's something interesting in there. We'll see. We'll see what the AI clips. What if the AI we use to clip it just completely cuts everything negative AI?
That would be.
It's like
that would be crazy.
We should run an experiment on that. Just talk about how critical and shit on AI, and then just find the AI the software uses, whichever one it is, shit on it, and then see if it'll.
Yeah, what does Opus Clips use?
I don't know.
Oh my god.
OpenAI maybe. I'm not sure.
That would be ChatGPT.
Yeah, we'll see. That'd be a fun experiment.
That's funny. I didn't think about that.
Cuts it out.
Yeah. We're not going to use clips from them talking about this.
Nope. So
shut them down.
Yeah. Speaking of, like we said earlier, using it to do everything and using it to help you, I use it as a tool. I basically, Anyway, I don't even know the process.
A lot of the influencers or anybody making content uses Opus Clips. I just saw an ad for it. It's like one of the top used one. Anyways.
So
Anyways.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Look for us on. I hate saying look for us on these things because if you're consuming this, you know where we are. But we're all on the social medias.
Yeah, just
Twitter,
hit the like button,
YouTube,
hit the repost.
Like, share,
comment,
subscribe, do the things.
Comment even if it's just like a poop emoji. Like we don't care.
Yep,
do something.
So
and we've been to the moon and back, guys. We didn't land, but we've been around, so it's not all bad. We're making moves.
We're doing great.
Yep.
Watch us next episode as we debate whether this is the first time they've been to the moon or not. No, I'm just kidding.
Has it really been 50 years, or were we never there to begin with?
Tune in next time. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.